Back in Brooklyn, Nets press conference, special presentation here on Yes Network. Billy King, general manager of the Nets, named GM back in July of 2010, was wearing very cool glasses back then for that shot. The Sixers president back from 03 to 07, GM as well, and of course the man that made this move happen, and he joins us right now. Billy, congratulations. This is obviously a huge day for the franchise. Just take us through the process. When, in your mind, did this become a reality?
Well, you know, when Jason was thinking about retirement, you always think of like, wonder what he wants to do next. And as I was going through the process of researching on guys and getting information on different guys, this was presented to me, and I went in not sure. I think I got a call like on Saturday or Sunday, and we said, well, let's meet Monday. I got it free. And so we sat down and talked, and the more I talked to him, it became easy, and I was impressed with his knowledge of our roster. He was referring back to games on the season that he'd watched and specific plays, which told me that, you know, even though he was playing for the Knicks, he studied the game. He wasn't just watching us. He was watching basketball and thinking what he would do differently.
Billy, what do you think when you think a kid's career over a period of 19 years? What's that one intangible or item that comes into your mind to say, you know what, this is the guy that I think should be coaching the Brooklyn Nets? Well,
the way he played. He competed and played so hard. He played out there, you know, left it on the floor. And he was such a competitor. He hated to lose. And those are things that we need. We need guys that can play hard 48 minutes and make where losing hurts, where it's painful when you lose a basketball game.
Clearly one of your lead players, Darren Williams, is a connection there with Jason Kidd, but now there's a different type of connection from a coaching standpoint. What do you think Jason Kidd can bring to the table for Darren Williams and his elevation of his play?
Well, you know, Jason wants to challenge Darren, you know, not just have the ball in your hands all the time. Play off the basketball, you know, do other things. Let Gerald Wallace bring it up where you get out and maybe get a layup on the fast break, you know, because one thing is, you know, Darren always had the ball in his hands in Utah and came here. We took it out a little bit, but I think Jason wants to challenge him to be an overall better player. But we talked about challenging Brook Lopez to be, you know, it was also should be even better. He talked about Joe Johnson and trying to get Joe to maybe play somewhere small for do some things differently. You know, I mean, that's the thing about it. He went in and he had specific ideas what he wanted to do with our roster.
I think there's another aspect, too. You've been around a lot of different personalities throughout your career, some great coaches, Hall of Fame coaches. There's a certain presence and a certain command when Jason walks into a room that you can't necessarily create. It's there and it's real. For you, how much of that played a role, that you know that Jason Kidd has the respect of every player in this league and now instantly has the respect of the players on your roster?
Well, that's the thing about it, his presence. When he walks in the room, you know, he's there. And he commands that. Like Coach K walks around Popovich. There's certain guys, when they walk in the room, they have the command presence. And so, and I think, you know, in his personality, way he talks to guys, brings him at ease, as you know, when he's trying to explain things that they're going to. And I think our players will respect the fact that he played, and they understand he had a great career.
You mentioned Larry Bird during the press conference as a player that did make the transition to the sideline. Do you see a lot of similarities there, and you know Larry? Yeah. Are the personalities a little different, and is Jason going to carve out a different path?
Well, I think they're very similar in the sense that, you know, they weren't outspoken that much, but they played hard, they competed, didn't like to lose. I had a chance to talk to Rick Carlisle this morning, and he talked about that he, you know, because Rick was on Larry Bird's staff that first year, and he said, I think, you know, he's going to set up a time for Jason even to pick Larry Bird's brain a little bit to find out a little bit about that. So, to me, you know, that's one thing also Jason talked about is, you know, he's going to reach out to Coach K, reach out to all these different coaches, and as he develops his own niche.
Bill, when you think about it, how important, not to put you on the spot with asking you who the assistant coaches are going to be, but how important is it from a different style and what they bring to the table in terms of helping Jason Kidd? Here's a guy who was a team player all his life, right? And now he's a coach, he's the head coach, can make these decisions. But from your perspective, how important is it to shape that staff from a team perspective, because he's a rookie, as he just mentioned?
Well, I think it's important to give him a staff that complements who he is. You know, you get somebody that's very organized. And, you know, he mentioned Lawrence Frank, and I think Lawrence would be great because Lawrence knows him, he knows Lawrence. But then also add other staff that complement that person. And the staff's got to understand that they work for Jason. They're there to support him and to give him ideas, but then also let Jason be Jason, let his instincts take over, and not put him in a box of, you know, you can't do this, but coaches don't do this. is. Let his basketball instincts. But I think we'll get him a good staff. And he has ideas of who he wants because he's been in the league for 19 years and he's met quite a few people.
Well, a creative player has to think like a creative coach now. You have to let him run, I guess.
Exactly. You got to let him be him. And, and will he make mistakes? I think, coaches all do. But I think the one thing about Jason is that he'll try to make sure he doesn't make that mistake twice.
Ownership. Mikhail Prokhorov, tell us, A, his reaction, and B, the influence that he had in this very monumental decision for the franchise.
Well, when it came up, they were hesitant. They asked my opinion. I said, let me talk to him. And then they asked, and they thought, they liked the idea. They said, why not? And I think sometimes we say, okay, well, he's got to go be an assistant for 2 years or go do TV. And they said, why? And I said, you're right. I said, just if you believe in somebody, why do you say, hey, go do this for a couple of years? I remember Mark Jackson doing TV, and I'm good friends with Mark. I remember calling other teams when I was out of the work saying, hire Mark Jackson. I think he'd be a great coach. And I had people say, well, he hasn't coached before. But Mark had that same thing that Jason had, where he commanded attention.
Billy, congratulations. You're a busy man. We wish you the best of luck. This is going to be a busy time, but an exciting time for the Nets.
Thank you. It will be.
General Manager Billy King joining us here in Brooklyn from Barclays Center.